All right, if you want a good, February is the month of love, apparently. And I like to watch, kind of romance. You like to put yourself into the season. Crazy Love. That is the perfect title for this, because this is the craziest story. I've heard a lot of crazy stories. These people were on Sally Jesse Raphael. Y'all remember that show? The lady with the big glasses talk show. And Geraldo. I remember as a young girl watching Geraldo trying to dig up the BODY of Gotti. Was it Gotti or one of those gangsters? And nothing was there. Anyways, I don't ever remember them growing up, this couple growing up, and they were in the newspapers and everything. So anywho, he and her are dating. She finds out that he is married and has a child. So she breaks off with him unless he's going to produce divorce papers. He produces divorce papers, but guess what? They're falsified. They're not real. So then she goes off and she gets engaged to another gentleman, okay? So he was going to assassinate her new fiance, but he chickened out, okay? So then he hired a guy who in turn hired other guys to take her down. Before this all happens, though, he's hiring people to throw rocks at her windows and to physically assault her so that she gets scared and goes back to him. Like what? And then he is so obsessed with her, okay, that there's a trial, yada, yada, yada. He goes to jail. He's writing her letters in jail. She decides she's going to write back and ask him for some money because she lives a wild life. Even after she's been blinded, she goes... Her fiance breaks up with her after all the fancy news coverage and everything stopped, okay? Her fiance was sticking with her while she's in the hospital, but then all the paparazzi and news coverage died down. He didn't want her to come home with him, and the engagement was broken off. So she flies over to Europe, lives the time of her life and everything, but she comes back. She is single and she is broke. In those times, a lady couldn't make it very far on her own. So he starts writing her. He's been writing her this whole time, trying to make contact with her because he's so in love with her. He just is obsessed with her is the word, okay? And he's basically like, you're going to end up back with me, blah, blah, blah. So anyways, he's still in jail. And he's writing her and everything like that. One day she decides to write him back, are you going to send me any money? Because at this point she's flat broke. She'd lost her job. And he's a lawyer. So he does some jailhouse lawyering. And he sends her $4,000. That was a lot of money back in the day. $4,000. And that kind of seals the fate. He goes up for parole. They say, are you still sending her money? He says, well, I can. If you let me out, I'll make more money and I'll send it to her. And that's how he got out on parole. And then her friends figure, I don't know what kind of friends these are. They figure, well, let's try to get these two together for a kind of inconspicuous meeting. And they make a lunch date or whatever, dinner date, so that these two meet up again face to face. And they fall in love, whatever that means, and now they're married. Okay. Well, she has to be dependent on him because why? Because she don't have no money. And she's nearly blind. Now she's fully blind, which is just awful. And so, of course, he's got to help her and blah, blah, blah. And she's fully dependent on him. Now, so ladies, I am not against men. I should play for the other team or bat for the other team for all the bad experience I've had with the men's. But I do not. I believe there are good men out there and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not anti-man at all, okay? But that is how a man gets control of you. He makes you dependent on him. And that is exactly what happened here. Like, she just didn't really, this was probably her first real boyfriend. She had had a few little boyfriends along the way, but, he was the one adult she really dated with money and a real job. And of course, he maimed her, or at least paid to have her maimed, and now she is dependent on him for the rest of her life. And then you think, okay, what am I going to say? You think, okay, maybe she did fall in love with him and everything was hunky-dory and they had a wonderful love story. Well, guess what? It comes up later on, and maybe it's false, I don't know. Allegedly, he had a mistress and he tried to assault her, and that went to court. So even through all this time, just say, hypothetically, for argument's sake, he was in love with her. He really could not live without her at all, okay? That she was the love of his life and it devastated him and he didn't know what to do. He was so heartbroken, da-da-da. Well, he ended up having a mistress. And he ended up allegedly physically assaulting her, and he went to court. So, I mean, you see how dumb things are. And of course, they're having a happy old life now. He pays for everything, and they go out for lunch and trips and clothing sprees, shopping sprees, and all that good stuff. But ladies, do not ever think that just because a man, is crying over you or saying that you are his life, his whole life. Nobody in this entire world is anybody's life. You are your own life. Okay? No man, of course, people fall deeply in love and they have soulmates and all that good stuff. But no one should ever be 110% dependent on someone else for their happiness. Because if they, meet their demise or something like that, or they find another love or their life or whatever, you cannot be devastated that they are gone. You have to move on. But this man made her dependent on him. And basically her whole livelihood. And I just do not agree. It's not a love story to me. It's a story of abuse and I don't know what else. It is a watch. When I tell you it's a watch, it is like watching. It was like tabloids before there were tabloids. There was always little write-ups and papers about movie stars and all that good stuff. But this is wild. This is wild that she went back to him after all he did. Maybe he had some mental health stuff, and maybe he really did truly love her and all that stuff. But you would never, ever, ever, ever hurt someone that you love, period. And, they say, let it go. If it comes back to you, it was yours, right? So he could have let her go without maiming her. And if she came back to him, then, they could still have had a relationship or whatever. But to maim her and make her permanently disabled, it's, oh my gosh. I hope they made big money on the Netflix or Tubi special or whatever this is. But I don't know. It was just sad to me. I don't know what your opinion is. Just leave it in the chat. Bye.